Welcome to Love and the Planets, and this is the very start of 2018. We're looking at the week of January 1st, and I'm Margaret Gray in Dublin.
And I'm Armand Diaz in a very chilly New York City.
Actually, it's pretty chilly here too, bright but icy. But you've had more snow than us. Okay, so we start, of course, on January 1st or 2nd, depending where you're living. Here in Europe, it's the 2nd. There in the States, mostly it's the 1st, with a Cancer full moon. And this, Armand, I believe, is a supermoon, which means it's much closer to Earth. So I always get the feeling that when it's a supermoon, and particularly a moon in Cancer, which of course rules the moon, it's a particularly powerful moon, particularly around relationships, because we're talking about the whole theme of nurturing and mothering ourselves, taking care of ourselves. I mean, what's your sense of this full moon for relationships?
It's explosive. The full moon is essentially square to Uranus. We would debate that, I guess, but within 12 hours of the full moon, we have a Uranus station to move direct. And the moon will go on to square Uranus. So, and I think really Sunday beforehand, the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, Monday, the 1st into the 2nd, it just seems to me to be explosive. A Venus Neptune sextile, which is exact on the 3rd, which sounds kind of lovely, notwithstanding. It seems to me like it could be a time when things very excited, potentially a lot of fun, very freedom oriented, a little bit of irritability at the very least, need for independence.
I think one of the interesting things, when we get a full moon in Cancer is that, it's Cancer opposite the sun in Capricorn. And in this case, the sun is sided by Venus on one side, Pluto on the other. So it's a very powerful sun. And I think we're really back into those archetypes, parental archetypes, where we're kind of brought back to maybe old issues to do with mother, to do with fathering, I should say mothering rather than mothering, fathering, within ourselves, nurturing, back to nurturing within ourselves. And of course, this is also the end of the holiday period. So people have spent a lot of time maybe with families or not. Maybe people have spent time on their own, and it's brought up all those issues as well. So there's a little bit of vulnerability around. So I would say something important maybe to do with this full moon is really to take care of oneself. So to use the Capricorn energy to create some boundaries, and to use the Cancerian energies to really create some nurturing.
There is that, you're talking about using the positive side of those archetypes, and that's really great, and that's really important to do, because the other side of those parental type archetypes is the structuring, the limitations, perhaps the caution of the Cancer moon, and the reactivity of the full moon, let alone in Cancer. And then the square to Uranus, the Uranus in Aries energy is a little bit of like, I am sick and tired of the restrictions. I am sick and tired of the need for security. So there'll be some, it could go both ways.
I'm laughing because we always do this. It's like I try to put the sugar coat on and you do the reality check. So it's great. So people get a good balance between us. Well, also, Amanda, I think what's interesting is that, of course, on the 2nd, Uranus goes direct after 5 months. So that certainly ignites. I think the relief with that, though, maybe that things actually can get moving. So relationships can get started or can move out of maybe a stuck position, particularly if there's been stress over the holidays. So really, we can finally kind of, there's a bit of energy behind. And I think one of the hardest things for relationships is when there's a sense of stuckness, when people just feel what's going on here, we're not moving. So this might really push things forward. And then, of course, there's the Venus sextile Neptune, which you weren't too keen on, but I do think that it can, to some degree, also help combine dreams with maybe manifesting things in practical terms. So I think there's a little bit of potential there.
Oh, I'm not saying that there's not potential there. The thing is that the cosmic energies are out there, and they're really kind of neutral. And for some people, things tilt towards one side, and for some people they tilt towards the other. It's it's the type of energy and the degree of it that we're going to really talk about, exactly how it's going to play out. Well, that depends where you are with things. I agree. After a very Neptunian November and a rather stuck December with the retrograde and Saturn at the very end of Sagittarius, I think, after the solstice, I think we really do feel that things are moving again. And I think as we get through January and go forward, it's a very busy year, and especially the first couple of months. So yeah, it is. I agree with you entirely. It is a sense of getting moving. Exactly where you're moving to, that has to do with where you personally are. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? No, it depends.
And I think also a useful thing, of course, is look at your own natal chart, look at your loved one's natal charts, and look at the composite chart. See where these things land on the composite chart. And if you don't know where that is, contact us and we can help you with it. But also moving on to the weekend, everyone moves into very practical Virgo, service-oriented Virgo. So I think there's a slight shift in energy. Now on the Saturday, we've got Mars conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio, which really I think could be quite passionate. So there's the potential there for that. And Mercury, which thank goodness is finally direct, of course squares Chiron in Pisces. So maybe words can be a little more healing rather than hurting. So I think there's some potential at the weekend to maybe enjoy some of the weekend.
Well, I don't want to be the other voice and say, take the sugar coating off and say that, Mars conjunct Jupiter and Scorpio. Passion has a lot of forms, there's certainly a lot of potential there. Certainly under a Virgo moon, it would be interesting to see how it plays out. And we'll have to see. It's a very charged week that begins the start of a very charged month or so. And don't forget to watch our Loving the Planets special edition that is on the year 2018.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'll see you next week, Armand. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.